What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Traveling Circus. Happy Halloween. Sorry to be a jerk and try to scare you there. But I want to talk to you today about something that should not scare you, and that is the contents in this tackle box right here. This is my jerkbait box that I keep in my boat at all times. I feel like this is a lure category that a lot of anglers are really intimidated by. I was one of those for a very long time. I would throw a jerkbait a lot in the early pre-spawn on the Tennessee River, February and March, then I would put it away. And I'm talking old school Smithwick rogues that we would actually weight down with either suspend strips or rubber core sinkers to get them down to the depths we wanted them to. We would count them down. My dad and I caught some big smallmouth, big largemouth doing that. And then lucky crap pointers came around, and oh my gosh, greatest thing since sliced bread. And obviously now we have mega bass and all these different brands, right? And jerkbaits can be very confusing. They can be intimidating for so many different reasons because you've got different sizes, you've got different depths they'll dive to, a million colors. And the biggest thing I think for a lot of anglers, price tag, right? You start looking at this Japanese stuff, they're expensive. They're not inexpensive lures at all, and I think a lot of people are just like, I'll just stick to my spinnerbait. I'll just throw my square bill down the bank. I'm not going to do that. But a jerkbait for me has become a lure that I keep tied on 12 months out of the year. A lot of times I have more than one tied on, and I'm going to show you, in my opinion, 2 or 3 styles, not necessarily brands, but 2 or 3 styles. I feel like if you're only going to limit yourself to having just a few in your boat, that I would pick up for sure. And we'll talk rod, we'll talk setup, all of that. But first, let's take a look at the coolest jerkbait catch of my life right now.
Pile them some bitches somewhere. I think I got 2. Oh, I got a big one's what I got. Oh. I mean, sideways with it. Goodness gracious. Come here. I've never caught one like this. He is, I don't know that he's got a hook in him. He's got this thing wedged. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. I want you to look right there. Not a hook. Not a hook in that son of a gun. Wedged. Wedged. Not a hook in him. That's a first. I mean, I'm going to have to get pliers to get the bill out. Look. Here we go, watch. There it comes. All the way out. No hooks. No hooks needed. No trocars today.
Can we just take a second to acknowledge how good you got to be to talk a bass into the boat without hooks?
No hooks needed.
All right. That's not something you go out and do every day. It's the first time it's happened to me in 30 years. And I think you got to be pretty dadgum good. Or very lucky. Very, very, very lucky. Now let's talk about what kind of rod you should use in case you don't get lucky and they do get a hook. You don't want to use the wrong rod because you will lose them. Obviously, jerkbaits got all sorts of trebles on them. You're going to want to use a rod that caters to that whenever you get a bass hooked. I like a medium fast action rod like this. This is a 6'9" Jinko Deceiver Series, the old gambler. My boys call it the Superman rod, blue with a little bit of red on it right there. Definitely stands out on the front deck of the Express. But I love this rod, been using it this year. One of my favorite jerkbait rods that I've ever had in my hand. It loads really well when you hook fish. It really allows you to work the jerkbait like you want to. It's real responsive. I absolutely love this rod right here. Now, reel to me, I'm going to throw a 6/6 to 1 most of the time. I don't like to go faster than that. I don't like to go slower than that on a jerkbait. A lot of times, especially when you're using forward-facing sonar, you have to get that bait in fast, fire another cast out there, or if you're schooling, you want to be able to get back in there. I always say speed kills. Get back in there as quick as you can, especially this time of year, okay? 12-pound fluorocarbon is what I tend to lean on. I will throw 10 from time to time, but 12 is a mainstay. You can throw most size baits, in my opinion, on 12-pound fluorocarbon. I don't like to go a lot lower than that just because you deal with some really big fish on a jerkbait, especially in the fall, winter, and early pre-spawn time of the year. A lot of giant bass get caught on a jerkbait, so 12-pound line. That way, you know, you don't have to, you're not just finessing them. It's not 6-pound line, obviously. Can't exactly winch them in like it's 20, but I like that 12-pound line. Most of the time, that's what I'm going to go with. So there you go on the rod. Keep it simple, stupid. A 6'9". I don't like to go above that. You don't want to throw it on a stiff rod. I think that's where people, when they start getting into more techniques, as they get more advanced in their bass fishing, I just think they do not have either enough rods, and I get it, you know, rods are expensive, but I think if you do not have the correct rod, you'll drive yourself crazy. Y'all have heard me say that, whether it's a topwater or a glide bait, flipping, whatever the case is, if you don't have the right setup, you're going to drive yourself nuts. And I think a jerkbait is one of those you cannot just have, I'm going to throw it on that 7-foot medium heavy. I've got a million 7-foot medium heavies, I feel like. And I utilize that rod for a lot of things, but it's not a rod that you're going to want to throw a jerkbait on. And I think you've got to have a special rod in your boat. And what that does for me also is it means I always have a jerkbait tied on. I just always have one right there, ready to go, either in the rod locker or on the deck. Now, let's talk about a few baits that I think you need to have in your arsenal if you're not going to have a ton. This is the box I typically keep in my boat. You know, just a regular tackle tray, not one of the big deep divers there that you can stick a million jerkbaits in. I do keep a couple of those in my shop. I have a lot of jerkbaits, and I will trade in and out depending on where I'm going on a trip, right? But for the most part, that's what I keep, and I'll be honest, I could probably take about 3 or 4 with me and apply that to most situations. And I think that's where, again, people get overwhelmed, and especially the fact that they are very expensive for the most part. But here's what I think you need. If I was just going to, hey, this is the handful I'm going to have, this is what I'm going to have. I think you need a deep jerkbait, like a +1 style. Like this is a Megabass 110 Plus. I think it's one of the best ones out there. I think about 1 million people would agree. I think you need a shallower jerkbait, just like a regular 110 style. Again, insert your favorite brand here. There are a lot of good ones out there. And then one that I think people sleep on that I throw a lot is a junior size. Honestly, don't even want to talk about this publicly, just to be fair. But I think a lot of people overlook this, especially in the fall when the bait gets a little small and the fish get pressured when they're schooling, things like that. A 110 junior style is very, very hard to beat. It's that whole match to hatch thing. But they have 110 plus juniors now. But if I was only going to have me a handful right there, that's what I would get. Now, I think colors, you need something natural and translucent for certain days. I think that's pretty simple as well. Like a Tennessee shad, sexy shad looking deal right here. I think you need you a pearl or a bone. You don't have to do a deep dive, in my opinion. There are a lot of people that will tell you otherwise. Man, I know some really, really, really fantastic jerkbait fishermen. Color-wise, they don't get crazy. It's more about what that jerkbait does, understanding what that jerkbait does for the situation, water level, water clarity, how the fish are reacting. All of that is more important than having all the colors in the rainbow, all right? So, something else that I think is very important, and I know people hate to hear this, especially if your name is Randy. You probably hate to hear this, right? Forward-facing sonar has changed everything for me when it comes to jerkbait fishing. Well, of course it has. They jump in the boat. You don't even need hooks to catch them. Not because of that. What it has shown me, and it does this with a lot of lures, not just jerkbaits, but what it has shown me is how deep I'm actually getting. What these lures will do right out of the package. You can study that, whether you're throwing at a fish or not. It's incredible. I used to throw them in a swimming pool, snag the liner, piss my wife off. Now I don't have to do that. All I got to do is turn on the old cheater box, look around and I can see what those baits do. So I would suggest if you have forward facing sonar and you want to know what that jerkbait does, get out there on a good cast, make sure you can see your lure and watch what it does. Now there are tweaks you can make, you can weight them, you can do all kinds of things to get them a little deeper, but right out of the pack, be sure you know what they do, okay? Now I'm going to tell you about a jerkbait that has become one that's a mainstay that kind of is the best of both worlds, and that is the Jinko Pursues 110. You can see the lip angle is a little different than your standard, say this is a Megabass 110. This lip angle is a little bit more severe, and this bait is a standard 110, doesn't have that big deep diving lip, but it actually dives deeper on a long retrieve than a standard 110 size. And so this is kind of my jack of all trades jerkbait right here, that I do throw a good bit, and not when fish are extremely shallow, because it does tend to get down there, but I'm talking 6-8 feet of water on a shallow running jerkbait, man, that you can hold your rod high. If a fish is up in the column, you see one on live scope, you can get it up there to him, or if you do want to cast it up on a flat, you can maybe not get it down as deep just by controlling the action with your rod. But the Jinko Pursues is a very cool jerkbait. Again, if you don't want to spend an arm and a leg and buy 15 different varieties, this one will cover you for a lot of different situations. But if I'm going out, I'm going to get me just a handful. And again, experiment with brands, experiment with colors, but keep it simple. Just make sure you got you a good rod, and that's it. Don't trick yourself, treat yourself. See, bringing it back around. Halloween. Hope y'all have a good one. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're not. And now I'm going to go eat too much candy. See you.